2001, Audrey Marnay vanished. No scandal, no farewell runway, no press release. Just silence. Only months earlier, she was the French darling of haute couture, her face gracing the covers of Vogue, her walk closing the shows of Versace and Gaultier. Designers called her a porcelain dream. Photographers chased her like myth. Then, she disappeared. Whispers filled the void. A forbidden relationship, industry pressure, a silent exile disguised as choice. How did fashion's most poetic face become a name the industry dared not mention? And more importantly, who decided Audrey Marnay was over? Because Audrey didn't fade. She was erased. Audrey Marnay wasn't born into fashion. She was born into quiet. Raised in Chartres, a medieval town southwest of Paris, Audrey was the fifth child in a modest, working-class family. Her father was a technician, her mother a homemaker. The Marnays lived simply, books over luxury, silence over spectacle. But Audrey had something that didn't belong in the shadows, a face the world wasn't ready for. With soft classical features and melancholic eyes, she looked like she had stepped out of a forgotten painting. Pale, freckled, and unusually poised for her age, Audrey didn't fit the archetype of a 90s teenager. She didn't chase trends or attention, she observed. At 15, she was discovered by a modeling scout while walking with friends on the streets of Paris. She had never auditioned, never planned it. She didn't even believe she was beautiful. But the camera disagreed. Within months, she was signed to a top agency. By 16, she was on the cover of Vogue Paris, shot by legendary photographer Mario Testino. The fashion world didn't just notice her, it inhaled her like smoke. They said she looked like a young Sophie Marceau. But Audrey was something else. Not seductive, not commanding, just haunting. Audrey Marnay rose through fashion not like a storm, but like a spell. While most models clawed their way through casting calls and backstage chaos, Audrey floated. Effortless, ethereal, she didn't demand the room, she shifted it. After her Vogue Paris debut at 16, the fashion elite moved swiftly. Jean-Paul Gaultier wanted her in his next campaign. Yohji Yamamoto admired her ability to look timeless and futuristic in the same breath. Lanvin, Moschino, and Chanel followed suit, but it was Versace who crowned her a muse. Donatella once said, "Audrey walks like she's not even touching the floor." On the runway, she was gravity-defying. Off it, she barely spoke, just enough to remain fascinating. There was a fragile confidence in her that drew people in, like a porcelain doll with a heartbeat. Photographers adored her. Peter Lindbergh called her a face from a dream. Stephen Maciel captured her melancholy elegance in black and white. And Mario Sorrenti, known for his raw sensuality, photographed Audrey like she was too delicate to exist. Her image became a paradox. Pure but provocative, ancient yet modern. By 18, she had walked every major fashion week, from Paris to Milan to New York. She was the French counterpoint to Kate Moss's British School and Naomi Campbell's blazing force. Where others brought fire, Audrey brought frost, and it chilled the room into reverence. What set her apart wasn't just her face. It was her silence. While her peers chased celebrity, Audrey remained elusive. She refused tabloid interviews, ignored paparazzi, and declined endorsements that didn't feel right. In a decade obsessed with loudness, she whispered, and the world leaned in to listen. But as always in fashion, the more quietly you rise, the less noise it takes to make you disappear. In 2001, Audrey Marnay stopped walking. No announcements, no farewell cover, just absence. One season, she was closing haute couture shows in Paris. The next, she was gone. Erased from casting lists, ghosted by brands, and forgotten by an industry that once called her sacred. There was no dramatic collapse, no tabloid meltdown. That's what made it unsettling. Her disappearance was quiet, like a page torn from a book, leaving no trace, only questions. The whispers began behind closed studio doors. Some said she had aged out at just 20. Others claimed she had become too reserved for an era shifting toward bold sexuality and commercial spectacle. But one rumor stuck harder than the rest. Audrey, they said, had fallen in love with the much older, high-profile French film director. He was known in artistic circles, charismatic, unapologetic, and controversial. Their relationship became quietly visible, spotted at screenings, art events, dinners where fashion overlapped with cinema. To the public, it was nothing more than a May-December affair. To the fashion world, it was an offense, not because of morality, but because of optics. Audrey had built her image on quiet mystique, the muse untouched, the delicate enigma. Being tied to an older, powerful man made her visible in the wrong way. No longer the fantasy, now she was human, flawed, tangible, tabloid bait. And in fashion, fantasy sells, reality gets replaced. Her agency allegedly grew distant. Campaigns once guaranteed to her went to newer, safer faces. One by one, the designers who once adored her chose silence. She was still breathtaking, still only in her early 20s, but in fashion's ruthless machine, it only takes one shift in narrative to render you obsolete. So Audrey stepped away. Whether by force or by choice, we may never know. She tried to pivot, dipped into acting with roles in French indie films, dabbled in painting, photography. She even modeled again briefly, but the calls came less and less. The fire was gone, and so was the memory. By 2005, the same editors who once called her the face of modern French elegance no longer remembered her name. Fashion didn't bury her, it just deleted her. Audrey Marnay never begged for a second act. While many of her peers chased the momentum, rebranding, relaunching, reinventing, Audrey retreated, not in shame, but in defiance. She chose a quieter kind of renaissance. In the mid-2000s, she reemerged, not as the fashion icon she once was, but as an actress, a mother, and a multidisciplinary artist. She starred in Paris, Je T'aime, an ensemble film that paid tribute to the city that first discovered her. Her role was small, fleeting, like a cameo from a past life, but poignant. Her face still held that same melancholic pull. The screen hadn't forgotten how to love her. She painted, she sculpted, she held exhibitions, slowly reclaiming control of the image machine that once devoured her. In interviews, she spoke rarely, but with clarity. "I've had enough of being watched," she said in one. "Now I watch back." There was no grand comeback campaign, no glossy Vogue redemption cover. And maybe that was the point. Audrey didn't want to reclaim the pedestal. She wanted to rebuild the ground beneath her. She became a mother of 3. She started supporting emerging French designers, quietly mentoring without press. She turned her back on the catwalk, but not on creation. For her, reinvention wasn't about proving herself to the world. It was about proving she was more than what the world had decided she could be. Audrey Marnay may not appear in the retrospectives. Her name might be missing from fashion documentaries, her face absent from glossy top 10 lists of the supermodel era. But her absence is her legacy. In an industry that thrives on noise, Audrey Marnay remains a whisper, and whispers can haunt far longer than screens. She didn't follow the arc the fashion world loves: rise, fall, redemption, reinvention. She wrote a different script, one where the exit wasn't staged, one where silence had more power than scandal. She was the model who refused to be commodified to the end, the muse who walked away before they could remake her into something she wasn't. She didn't just fade from the runway, she stepped into her own frame. And perhaps that's why fashion never spoke her name again. Not because she failed, but because she slipped through their grasp. Audrey Marnay didn't disappear. She was overwritten by an industry that never knew what to do with women who wouldn't conform, wouldn't confess, wouldn't collapse on cue. But history has a funny way of circling back. And in every soft gaze, every quietly defiant runway walk, every model who chooses stillness over spectacle, her ghost lingers.